"Please state your names to the court," says Brother Severinus. The Verenan monk turns to face the 5 companions standing trial in the Delberz courtroom. Brother Heinrich has been mostly silent up until this point. He has calmly observed the intricate web of lies woven by acting magistrate Röhm in order to frame the companions as not only thieves, but murderers and agents of powerful crime lords in Middenheim. Although Heinrich doesn't fully know, and much less trust, Gerhard, the young rascal standing beside him, he is quite certain the man is no criminal mastermind. Far from it. In fact, the very idea of the Schiller gang strikes Heinrich as comically absurd. Heinrich has carefully been weighing his options, whether or not he should present himself as Thaddeus, the itinerant monk bound for the Imperial Jubilee in Altdorf, or come clean as Brother Heinrich of the Holy Order of Templars of Sigmar, a witch hunter working undercover for reasons still unknown to his companions. The young Templar knows his title only carries weight in certain situations. A witch hunter is first and foremost a servant of his cult, a religious warrior and investigator devoted to rooting out the ruinous powers from the Empire, but he is not above the law. He is not above the authority vested in the ruling councils and courts of towns such as Delberz. To many, he is little more than a glorified bounty hunter, a zealot tasked with tracking mutants, witches, and worse. Without evidence of corruption or chaos, however, he carries little sway over legal matters. Heinrich decides upon a strategy and is about to speak, but the broad-shouldered dwarf standing next to him beats him to it. "Greetings, one and all, and welcome back to the Temple of Verena. My name is Brother Clavius, servant of truth, keeper of knowledge, and your faithful chronicler, as we continue our playthrough of The Enemy Within for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. As always, everything you hear is based on real role-playing sessions, with real players making real choices and rolling very real dice. It has admittedly been some time since our last chapter. Let us simply say I became distracted by ancient scrolls and forgotten tomes. But now I return, eager to continue the tale. If you enjoy the series, please consider liking and subscribing. Your support truly helps the channel, and perhaps keeps me from vanishing into dusty archives again. Now then, on with the story. Chapter 17. The Favoured of Verena. My name is Dwinbar Hargrimsson, son of Hargrim Gotreksson, son of Gotrek Roriksson of the Bronzebeard clan, the red-haired dwarf proclaims. I am the direct heir to the rune key of the innermost gates of Karak Varn, the fallen hold of my true and honourable ancestors by blood. I carry the heirlooms to prove my heritage. They are currently in the possession of your town watch. A murmur passes through the courtroom. Franz, Cleo, Gerhard, and Heinrich exchange surprised glances. What has come over their dwarven companion? Is he telling the truth, or making the bluff of the century? They have travelled beside Dwinbar for days without truly knowing his story, assuming only that he was another displaced dwarf from the mountains searching for family. The dwarf continues. I have travelled to your town from the kingdom of Karak Norn, where my kin are under the protection of King Brock Ironpick. And if you dare question my innocence or attack my honour with false accusations, you will bring down the wrath of the Kara's Anchor upon you. The murmurs turn into uneasy gasps among the listeners. The companions notice Captain Weiss leaning close to whisper something into Councilman Röhm's ear. Dwinbar had encountered Weiss upon first entering Delberz, when the watch attempted to make the dwarf surrender his armour and weaponry at the gates. After tense deliberation, Dwinbar had been permitted to enter town fully armed, along with the personal apologies of Captain Weiss himself. I demand that you summon my uncle, Master Armourer and Blacksmith Dimzad Arnulfsson, whom many of you know, Dwinbar says. He owns a forge in this town and will stand witness to my name and honourable intentions. I have spoken. Cleo pays close attention to the mood in the courtroom. He notices the shifting atmosphere, confusion spreading, certainty beginning to crack. He closes his eyes and tries to take everything in through the strange new senses awakened during the cleansing of the monolith. There is unease in the currents around him. Nothing distinct, nothing he can fully grasp, merely a sensation of deception and instability. For one terrible moment, all the voices in the room melt together into a swirling chaos of color and noise, a bright cacophony pressing against his mind from every direction. Then it passes. Cleo opens his eyes sharply and exhales. These new senses will clearly take time to master. Beside him, Franz remains calm, smiling quietly to himself like a man watching a dirt road slowly collapse beneath heavy rain. "Order!" Röhm shouts, slamming his gavel against the bench. Sergeant Gans steps forward and unleashes a shrill whistle like a steaming kettle. "Silence!" he bellows. The courtroom falls quiet. "Mr. Bronzebeard," Röhm says nervously, "this courtroom cares little for foreign titles or mountain bloodlines. In Delberz, all common men and dwarfs answer equally before the law." Dwinbar is just about ready to erupt into a furious tirade of Khazalid curses when Heinrich finally interjects. "Obeying the law is exactly what we have done, honored magistrate." His voice rolls through the chamber with calm authority. Brother Severinus gestures subtly for Heinrich to continue. "Honored citizens of Delberz, honored council," Heinrich begins. "My name is Brother Heinrich Müller of the Holy Order of Templars of Sigmar." Another gasp sweeps through the audience. Several council members shift nervously in their seats. They all remember the last encounter with Sigmarite witch hunters far too well. The trial of Ludmilla Ermentraut, the miller's daughter, Farbagus Heinsdorf's horrific execution, and the impossible manifestation that appeared before the gathered crowd that terrible day. Heinrich immediately notices the unease and deliberately lets it work in his favor, not because he approves of Heinsdorf's methods, far from it, but because fear can be useful. Brother Severinus raises a hand. "You stand accused nonetheless, Brother Heinrich," the monk says calmly. "Would you care to explain your innocence to the court?" "Gladly, honored brother." Heinrich turns to face the courtroom. "What you are witnessing is an attempt to frame a group of innocent, God-fearing visitors as thieves and murderers. Yet nothing could be further from the truth. Not only have we pursued the men responsible for stealing the Pegasus whirlwind, we have uncovered a far greater threat, one that could endanger this town itself." "More lies!" Röhm snaps from behind the bench. "This town has already hosted Sigmarite witch hunters, 6 of them. You expect us to believe another Templar simply wandered into Delberz unnoticed? There are no records of your arrival." "Believe what you wish," Heinrich replies evenly. "I entered the town disguised as an itinerant monk while conducting investigations on behalf of my chapter in Salzenmund. Chapter Master Zusa commands my service. My papers are in my pack." "Forged documents!" Röhm barks immediately. "You take this court for fools." Brother Severinus interjects before the magistrate can continue. "Honored magistrate, perhaps I should conduct the questioning." Röhm glares at him for a long moment before reluctantly nodding. "Proceed." The Verenan monk turns back toward Heinrich. "You spoke of a greater threat." And so Heinrich begins to explain. Not everything, never everything, but enough. He speaks of Ursula, of the theft of Whirlwind, of the trail leading into the Howling Hills, of Beastmen and the horrors uncovered at the hidden ritual site of the Red Crown cult. He describes kidnappings, blood rituals, unspeakable acts of transmutation carried out beneath the moonlight. But when talking about the theft, he carefully avoids mentioning anything that directly implicates Rome. No silver payment at the Great Oak Inn. No Bretonnian buyer. The implication is left hanging in the air all the same. I know more than I say. Much to Cleo's relief, Heinrich also avoids mentioning the Strigani. Every one of the companions understands how quickly the room could turn against them if fear and prejudice are allowed to take hold. As stated earlier, Heinrich concludes, evidence of my credentials and title can be found among the possessions seized by the Watch. I request that the evidence be brought before this council. The courtroom erupts again. Röhm gestures furiously toward Weiss. both men suddenly looking flustered and cornered. For perhaps the first time since the companions met him, Heinrich smiles, a cold, controlled smile. "Order!" Röhm shouts once more. Brother Severinus approaches the magistrate's bench and whispers something into Röhm's ear. The acting magistrate recoils angrily. "That is preposterous," he snaps. "My word is law in this courtroom. I demand a short recess." With that, Röhm storms through the door behind the bench. Captain Weiss slips from the courtroom moments later. Cleo notices Sergeant Ganz looking increasingly uncomfortable. The veteran watchman has spent 30 years dealing with criminals and cutthroats, and nothing about Gerhard resembles a criminal mastermind. "Sergeant," Heinrich says calmly, "I believe you should secure the evidence." Ganz hesitates only briefly before nodding and hurrying from the room. Disorder spreads through the courtroom. Nearby, the drunken barrister Gutmann staggers toward Gerhard, bottle still in hand. "So," he slurs, "how'd it go? Hanging? Flogging? I'd call flogging a victory." Then he wanders out of the courtroom, never to be seen again. "What's happening?" Cleo whispers nervously, clutching Franz's sleeve. "Not sure, to be quite honest," Franz says softly. "But don't worry, the gods seem to favor us today." The next few moments feel like an eternity. Gerhard tries to notice Jakob Metzger, the witness and actual Middenheim cutthroat somewhere among the crowd, but he seems to be missing as well. Then suddenly the courtroom doors burst open. Sergeant Ganz re-enters the chamber with sword drawn, the blade stained with fresh blood. The entire room freezes. Ganz hurries to the bench and whispers urgently to Brother Severinus and the remaining council members. "Sigmar protects," Heinrich murmurs through clenched fists. Moments later, Ganz approaches the companions looking visibly relieved. He sheathes his sword and unlocks their shackles. "Verena's smiling on you lot today," he mutters. Before anyone can respond, Brother Severinus strikes the gavel. "Honored citizens," he announces, "the Delberz Legal Council has authorized the following statement. Due to a series of legal inconsistencies and clerical errors, this court hereby declares the present case a mistrial. Furthermore, all charges brought against these 5 imperial citizens are dismissed. You are free to go." A stunned silence hangs in the room. Then relief crashes over the companions. "We made it!" Cleo laughs. "They're not going to hang us." Franz wraps an arm around the young hedge witch's shoulders. "Of course they aren't," he says quietly. "But I wouldn't say we've made it until we're safely out of here." And there, my dear listener, this chapter comes to an end. But many questions remain. Where has Röhm gone? What became of Captain Weiss? And what of Jakob Metzger, Wittelsbach's hired thug, sent to collect Gerhard's debt? And beyond the courtroom, what fate awaits Whirlwind, Ursula, and the missing wizard Blitzen? Stay tuned. Until next time, say it with me. May truth prevail.